Hello, Practicum students. All right, so you're getting this email because, as I look at my sheet here, you have identified yourself as an individual who's needing practicum. And what do we mean by needing practicum? Just to make sure that none of you are in here that don't need it, okay? If you have management experience within a healthcare environment for 1 year or more at any time in the past, it could have been 1978, we don't care, for 1 year in the past, managing others in a healthcare environment, and by managing, I mean they call you boss, you're in charge of their annual reviews, their performances, their write-ups, their, all the good stuff and the bad stuff, okay? If you have that, then you don't need practicum. We call that leadership experience. Now, what in talking to you, it sounds like all of you folks here know that, no, I'm not a manager. I've never been a manager in the past within a healthcare environment. So yes, I need practicum. So that's why you're getting this email and having to watch this wonderful video today. So about this video, what I hope to do, it's going to be long, so sit back and relax. But I'm anticipating it'll probably take about 20 minutes. I'm going to go through a lot of the basics for practicum. All right, so if you don't have 20 minutes right now, you can always start and stop if you will, but I'm hoping I'm going to get this done in 20 minutes. All right, but quick introduction here. My name is Chris Gibbons. I'm the coordinator for the MHA program. I'm also the faculty that will be in charge of your practicum course. All right, so here's your first decision point that you need to think about. All right, so you know you need practicum. We figured that part out. And we have a couple of choices for you, okay, that we didn't have when you started the program. So one of the things that I did when I came over to help this program out is I saw practicum. It was kind of really intense, and it was only in the final semester of the program, and you folks are graduating in the summer. That usually means that our students have to work about 9 to 10 hours a week at practicum during that summer semester to meet the criteria. That's pretty intense for anybody who's a working professional. You have to take vacation time and all kinds of stuff in there. So that we found was a little difficult for most of our students. So bear with me here. I'll click this on so hopefully I don't make too much noise with my microphone rubbing on the collar. So with that, it was easy. All we're going to do is expand practicum, give students a choice to take practicum over 2 semesters. Your second to last and your last semesters. That's why I'm reaching out to you now, is that some of you probably will, and probably most of you, because we gave this option to 2 other groups, and the vast majority were like, give me that 2-semester version. So you folks have the opportunity to start this January, okay, in your practicum, and then it will be spread over 2 semesters. Next question is, God, does that mean I have to do more? Is it going to cost me more? Is it more credit hours? No. Okay, so practicum is a 3-credit hour, let's call it a course, if you will, experience, a 3-credit hour experience. We're going to have a 1.5 credit hour practicum for the spring and a 1.5 credit hour for the summer. Same cost, same everything, same amount of effort. We're just spreading it out over 2 semesters, okay? So think about that. The other thing to think about too is that some students were very, very worried about doing practicum just within 1 semester and their other academics on top of that. So remember that too, guys, as you're thinking about what choice to make. You might want to lean towards the 2-semester version because you still got to do your other courses on top of the practicum. And students really liked not having such an intense load. All right. So there's my story on that. Same cost, same amount of credit hours. We're just spreading it out over 2 semesters if you want to. So your first decision that you have to make relatively soon is like, do I want to do the 2-semester version or the 1-semester version? Okay, there could be pros and cons for some students depending on your own particular situation. Maybe you're not working in the summer. Maybe it's perfect for you. I don't know. But we'll still offer you the 2 versions if you want. You'll need to, I would like you to notify me which version that you are taking. So you can just send me a quick email. That's your first, I guess, assignment, if you will. Chris, I want the 1.5 credit hour version. Great. Especially you folks that are waiting to do the 3 credit hour version that will be just in the summer semester. Remember, summers are only 12 weeks long. So you got to spread that work over even less weeks. So think about that too. So summers makes it even tighter. That's where I'm getting about 10 hours of work per week, addition to your other graduate coursework. All right, but just send me a quick email which version that you're selecting. All right, after you selected your version, you will want to go and schedule your course. Let's assuming that you're going to do the 1.5 credit hour version. You're spreading it out over a couple semesters. There is a course, go in Empower and just register for that course like you would any other course. Now, I have noticed that a couple of you have registered for the 3 credit hour version. So I'm going to talk to Erica and Carrie. Okay, you have currently selected the 3 credit hour version that I happen to have on the books if folks wanted it for this spring. My guess is you may be registered for that incorrectly. I did put that on the books thinking there could be some situation where a student wants to take that in the spring versus the summer. There's another choice, if you will. Get it all done this spring. But again, it's going to be very, very intense. But less intense over the 12 weeks because we have 16 weeks in the spring. We only have 12 weeks in the summer. I'm assuming that both of you kind of registered for that course knowing you need practicum but didn't know which one that you wanted to get. So if you do want to do the 2, spread it out a little slow and steady, drop that course and register for the 1.5 credit hour version. I believe that is, it's HCA 565. I think it's the section W1, but definitely look for the 1.5 credit hour version. Okay, if you have any questions, ask me about that. All right, that's enough just specifically for Carrie and Erica. But for the rest of you, go register for the course that, if you're doing the 1.5, register for that now. And then you'll register for the other one if you decide to just do 3 credit hours in the summer. You'll do that later. Or when summer registration comes, you'll register for another 1.5. Long story short, you'll get your 3 credit hours in. All right. I'm going to assume, though, that the vast majority of you are going to be taking practicum this spring, and you're going to be doing the slow and steady approach, which worked out for probably 98% of our students so far that have taken practicum. All right, so there's your 2 choices, and email me which choice you are doing, and make sure you register for the correct course for the spring semester if you're going that route. Okay, I think I beat that to a dead horse. Beat that dead horse pretty good. All right, next thing we need to talk about is let's say you decide to do practicum. That's going to start right around January. I don't know, I think we start back on the 11th, if I'm correct. So that would be January 11th, your practicum would begin. Now, the world, if you saw my earlier video, the whole world of COVID has changed everything with practicum on how we approach it. And actually has made it much more, I guess, convenient for students as well. So we are no longer, and right now, we're suspending all, I'm going to say, physical practicum. So you are not going to be in a facility working with somebody side by side. We're calling it, it's basically, we've converted this to something called field-based research. So you're still doing stuff out in the real world, but you're able to do it from your home office. Okay, you're able to do it from your home office with interaction with what we're calling a mentor. Okay, so you can have interaction with a mentor. So that's kind of our terminology here. The thing that you'll want to do if you are, again, let's assume that you're going to be going this spring, is you'll want to reach out and identify a mentor within a healthcare environment, obviously. And that's someone that you, an area of interest that you have. Maybe you have a finance or HR or, God, we had students in every different area so far. We've probably run about 30 people through this in all kinds of different areas. But you probably have an area that you're interested in. So you're going to reach out to a mentor. That's usually going to be a manager or leader type individual, okay? And you're going to basically approach them like that. You probably know them. They probably know you. It's probably someone not a complete stranger, but may not be. But you're going to approach them like this, Hey, Mary, I'm in the master's program. I'm now entering something on my practicum, which is going to be field-based research, and I would love to do it in this department. Okay, so you're going to have that conversation. Kind of think about how you got to sell yourself to that mentor. Usually it's not a hard sell, and I'll tell you why. They usually absolutely love what you're going to offer them. So you're going to reach out to that mentor and let them know that this is not an internship or practicum. We're not going to physically be together. I'm not going to be physically in the facility, okay? And we're going to be usually on the phone or through email interacting, okay? So make sure they got their mind around that, because they might be thinking about, I guess, classic practicums where people are physically there. No, we can't have you physically there, okay? So don't even think about going physically in. The one question that popped up, I think earlier today, is, can I do it where I work? Yes, we are allowing students to do it where you work. So that's totally, absolutely fine. So when you're looking to identify that mentor, it could be even your current boss or your boss's boss. If you've read somewhere, and it's in our policy, to be honest with you, but if you read somewhere that we don't want you working, doing your practicum where you work, here is the reason, okay, is that in the past, I run the bachelor's program. So in the past, and we do a very similar thing over there, but occasionally we've had some students who were somewhat, I don't want to say abused in a way, but they were, because they did it where they work, the lines between their day job and their student responsibilities were very blurred. So, imagine if you're a respiratory therapist, and, it's your practicum day, and then, Sally calls off, and all of a sudden they see you standing there like, hey, can you come on? No, I can't. It's my practicum day. But they never said that. So they kind of got, so the lines got blurred and it got a little messy. So we just put a blanket statement not to do it where you work. But that also shoots yourself in the foot too, because often your best place to do practicum is where you work, because that's where you're probably looking to advance at. And this is all about your advancement. That's what practicum is all about. It's about you getting an advantage for career advancement by gaining additional knowledge, and also by interacting with folks that could be helpful in networking. Sometimes it's not what you know, it's who you know. So that's why you're having you guys do this. It's really to your benefit when you're competing for a job, to have something to showcase your kind of higher level skills that you've been gaining through the MHA program. And that's what this whole thing is about, you getting better job opportunities, okay? So absolutely, yes, you can do it where you work. Just be careful if for some reason you think that it's not going to work out because you might get pulled in different directions, then you don't necessarily have to do that. The nice thing about what I'm going to talk to you now is, because it is field-based research, you're not going to be at the facility. So that pull may not be as strong to kind of blur those boundaries, okay? And I don't want to give you the impression it happens all the time. Maybe happened 10 times out of the past 15 years. But I think even now makes it much more, siloed, if you will, between your time as an employee and your time as practicum student, because you're doing it from home, which is kind of great. So, all right, so there's that. Absolutely go out, find that mentor where you work, totally okay, or completely outside of your zone of comfort, totally okay. So you're going to approach that mentor, you're going to sell them on yourself, and that you're in this MHA program and you need a mentor to help you out. In their mind, they're going to be thinking a couple things. So how are you going to help me, and what is my time commitment? And that's where the mentor is super flexible. And we learned this through the first group going through COVID, all right? Students, their mentors, we called them preceptors back then, but they were checking out all over the place. People were disappearing, furloughed, reassigned. It was a mess, okay? So students are like, the guy I was working with is gone. Well, how do I complete my course? So we had to work around that. That could still even happen today. Things have stabilized more, but maybe with the new wave, who knows, So we wanted to make sure students could complete their, part of the practicum, even if they're mentor completely checked out. So they're, it may not be to their mentors not checking out on purpose, but they may have been furloughed, again, reassigned, all kinds of crazy stuff going on with COVID. So the time requirement for your mentor can be very, very little. It could be as little as a couple of hours, okay? That's not ideal, but it could be as little as a couple of hours. And as I explained, the two different pathways that you can choose. So now you had a couple different ways you could present to your mentor on what you can do for them. So you talk to somebody, they say, "Hey, that's great. I would love to have you here." So you say that kind of the time commitment's somewhat minimal. Tell me, what are you supposed to be doing? Okay, now here's the fun part. So with you, what you're supposed to be doing there is somewhat up to you. You can choose what's best for you. And we have two paths that I would like you to pick. One of them is you can work with your mentor in identifying an area to develop a white paper analysis on. Okay? I'll tell you about what a white paper analysis, and if you don't know what one is, I'll tell you about in just a second. The other pathway you can choose with your mentor, again, it's you and the mentor are going to talk about this and figure out what's the best way to go, is to work on a project with the mentor, okay? So let's talk about the first choice, the white paper analysis. So you talk to your mentor and you're like, hey, so what are some areas I can help you in? That's really what I want to do here. Or maybe you have an interest. So you could go to them with an interest, okay? Or you can ask them what they need help with. But ultimately, you two are going to negotiate something that that needs assistance, basically. Maybe you have an interest in patient satisfaction scores. And you talk to your mentor and they go, yeah, we really do need help in patient satisfaction scores. What can we do with that? Well, we could do a couple things. One, you could say, I could develop a white paper for you on best practices for increasing patient satisfaction scores and how to implement a program within your department to do that. Does that sound interesting to you? Oh yeah, that sounds great. They'll probably love that. Actually, we had a bunch of students do patient. I'm picking on that because we had about, 6 people do that particular thing. And they developed a white paper. A lot of them were like this. So if you don't know what a white paper is, you'll learn a lot more, but you can always Google it. Maybe you've seen some. A lot of you have already seen white papers. They're not super academic, okay? They're very friendly. They're usually centered around a problem area that management needs help with and gives them solutions about how to help them with that, how to do that. So maybe it's like, here are 10 best practices in improving patient satisfaction scores within medical imaging departments. We actually had one of those. So, they're very, they're not APA format. They're very friendly for a management person to read very quickly and get that information out of it. Okay, they're very almost like it's more like a magazine article. So again, you can always Google white papers. I'll give you some examples of what white papers look like, but some are very quick, easy reads, a lot of pictures, graphs. You can definitely use all that, which you normally do not use in kind of academic writing. So get out of your academic writing mode a little bit if you're going the white paper route, and you can have a lot more freedom. You do have to have references, absolutely, but we're not looking for any in-text citations, okay? A business leader, manager is not going to want in-text citations typically as they're looking through something to solve their problem. They don't care. They just want the problem solved. And yes, have a reference page at the end. So the white paper is, again, usually addressing this kind of somewhat a global problem. So I'll pick on patient satisfaction scores. So when that student wrote that white paper on how to improve patient satisfaction scores within medical imaging departments, it was after she was done with it, it was written so that she could deliver that to anyone who had an interest in improving patient satisfaction scores within radiology or ultrasound or with any kind of medical imaging department, which is a pretty big universe of people, all right? So imagine she's interviewing somewhere else down the road, and that would be the ideal situation. You're interviewing somewhere else down the road. Maybe it's at that institution, maybe not, okay? And, during the interview, that you talk about your, all the good stuff you did, and somehow you bring up, well, I know patient satisfaction scores are a big concern. And of course, they will be a big concern for almost anybody. And imagine saying, well, I'd happy to share my white paper with you on how to improve things here. Really? I mean, imagine how that would set you apart in an interview, that you're able to give them a deliverable on maybe how to solve their problem. I mean, that's going to elevate you in their eyes as far as when you're interviewing. You are now positioning yourself as a consultant expert in a category. And that's what the white paper does. It kind of elevates you to a consultant expert in a particular issue. And that's something that we would like. And it can also showcase your talents, showcase your ability to communicate, your ability to have deliverables to people. So that's what the white paper does. And they're again, very global. They're not typically institution specific, okay? So it's usually some sort of global problem within the industry that is happening within a particular department or area. But again, it could be any hospital, any healthcare system, that usually a white paper would appeal to. And that may work perfectly great as you're talking with your mentor about going the white paper route. The other route you could go is what we're calling a project. So a project is very specific to the hospital or to the healthcare organization. It's a very specific thing that you're working on. There will be no white paper at the end of it. You'll be working very closely with a mentor, and that's where they got to be sure that they could continue to communicate with you through that process if you're doing a project, okay? So what would a project look like? We had one student who their cardiology department was switching accreditation, okay? So I think they were American Heart Association, and they were switching to American College of Cardiology, all right? And her job was to put together the implementation plan, okay, along with some other people, but to put together the implementation plan for that transition. Okay, that was pretty huge. Actually, that led to her basically getting a promotion. So it was pretty great. That worked out for her. But it that's very unique, So she worked on that. So there was no white paper produced. She just worked on that project and all the little pieces necessary to get that in place for that specific institution. So as you're talking to your mentor, they may have a very specific hurt, a very specific need that they need help with, Geez, I've been really trying to organize, and get this off the ground. Can you help me? Yes, I can help you. As long as it can be done remotely, okay, then that is absolutely fair game. So what are the pluses and minuses of a project? Well, the project, again, you'll still be able to highlight that on your resume, on your CV of something that you did, but there won't necessarily be a tangible thing, and there probably will not be a tangible thing because it will be owned by that organization that you could share with somebody during an interview. Okay, so, but you definitely can share the story about how you went about that particular project. Okay, and especially if you're looking at promotion within, maybe within your organization, project might be the route to go. Okay, again, you're specifically helping them out with an issue. So just to summarize, we got the two different routes here. We're probably going to go about 35 minutes on this video. So the two different routes that you need to talk about with your mentor. You don't need to necessarily have that hardwired like this week, but you will want to have it hardwired probably by the end of January on which path that you're going to go, white paper, or you're going to go project. White paper, much more global issue, definitely related to what the mentor needs, but much more global issue, and you need far less interaction with your mentor. Basically, you could just decide on a topic, and if they never meet with you again, you're golden, okay? You could get the white paper done, and then, and we had this happen, they met only once, and they couldn't find the person really again. So that's all you really need to do is to develop that topic in conjunction with that mentor, and then you're off to the races, and you can go forward and do your white paper. Now, hopefully, they interact with you more, and you can share ideas and drafts with them and get a little input as you go, but much more self-directed, and you don't need them much at all. But at the end, you can still deliver it to them, and hopefully that gets you some advancement opportunities in their eyes as well. The project, much more interaction though. If we go the project route, much more interaction, probably weekly, and your mentor better be ready to do that. Otherwise, you could be twisting in the wind. So be realistic on which one that you choose, okay? If you really, both of you agree, like, look, this is COVID, I don't have a lot of time, go white paper. And be totally okay with that. If it's you feel like there's really a good project, you both can communicate well over email, telephone, Zoom, whatever, then and there's a good, clear project you can work on, absolutely great. So deliverables. What do I need to do to get a grade in this course? So if you choose the white paper route, you will deliver a white paper to me at the end of the 3 total hours, 3 credit hours, so not till this summer. You'll deliver a white paper of a minimum of 20 pages, okay? That can include graphs, charts, pictures. You know, it's not dense. It's not as dense as the writing that you've been done now. So if you're thinking, oh my God, 20 pages is intense, it's more like about 12. You know, if you kind of white paper it up, it's probably going to be about 12 to 13 pages, okay? And you got 2 semesters to complete it in. All right, so you have a white paper. Again, no APA format, reference page, but I can get more into or with you on that as you go white paper route. So you'll have to deliver a white paper of a minimum of 20 pages. Why a minimum of 20? Because we've calculated that in order to do about 1 page of white paper material, it takes about 5 hours. There's actually an hour requirement of work, if you will, in the background of this course, and that is to have done approximately 120 hours of work. Okay, so again, in this case, if you're doing the 2 semester version, spread out over 2 semesters. Not too bad if you spread it out. But 120 hours should produce you a nice white paper of about 20 pages, a minimum 20 pages or more. Most students were clocking in at about 23 to 25 pages, okay? That's the deliverable for the white paper route, in addition to a final presentation, which will be, I think it's about a 10-slide PowerPoint, and the presentations run about 10 to 15 minutes. That was like, I forget what the minimum requirement was off the top of my head. You'll get more information. I think the minimum requirement was 10. Everybody exceeded that. We had them go like 30 minutes. So it was great. So don't worry. You'll have plenty to talk about. But you have a pretty simple conversational presentation at the whole end of practicum, summarizing your experiences, pluses and minuses, roadblocks, how you got around that, of course, the concepts which you found. Okay, 2 deliverables for the white paper itself and the presentation. If you go the project route, okay, you're working on some big project for your, for somebody, maybe most likely your employer, you will self-log your hours, okay? No one's going to be looking over your shoulder, but I had students like, well, I've been doing these emails back and forth, and I'm like, did you count them? No, I didn't. Like every email you write, every email you read, every phone call that you have, every minute that you're researching, okay, or doing anything for this project, you're going to log, okay? So it's not too hard to get that 120 hours on a major project for whatever organization that you're doing this for, and you'll log that. So you'll self-log. You'll give me your log sheets at the end of the class, and I'll just make sure you've got the 120 hours logged in there. So you'll have that. And then you'll also have the presentation, just like the other group. Same criteria, 10 slides, about, I think, a minimum 10 minutes. So you'll have that as well. So you may think, because there's no like solid deliverable with the project, okay, because in most cases, the project that you're working on may not be completed by the time you're done with the course. So, and also any kind of solid deliverable is probably proprietary to that organization. So if you're working on, we had someone who was doing they developed a whole new onboarding process for their employees. It was really cool, but it's really owned by that institution. You can tell me about it and maybe share some screenshots, but I probably don't want to take something that's owned by another organization. So there's that. So there's the deliverables. You get those in, you get the A for the course. Okay? White paper, give me the white paper, minimum 20 pages, and give me a presentation. With the project, give me log sheets that show that you've honorably done 120 hours of work on that project, and give me a presentation at the end. That's it, guys, which is plenty. And you're going to, no matter whichever route you choose, you're going to be doing about 120 hours of work. Okay, so just think of it that way. All right, so I think that's covering everything here. So I know I ran a little bit long. So again, your next steps, again, just to close this video out, are to register for the correct course, whether you want the 1.5 credit version, I'm assuming most of you will, or whether you want to take just 3 credit hours in the summer, or for some crazy reason, if you want to take 3 credit hours now and get it done, you could do that. But email me, let me know your choice, okay? Then go forth and identify your mentor, usually one individual. It could be a group, but it's usually almost always one person. Where you work, or maybe not where you work, where you have an interest, and make sure it's good for you, okay? This is all about, be selfish. You want something good for you that's going to advance your career opportunities either where you work or within your profession, okay? So be a little choosy, because you are giving away 120 hours of your talent and your time to someone. So I think you can be a little choosy, and we do want this to work for you. We just don't want you to do it for the grade. And the vast majority of the students, we're definitely choosing things that are going to advance their career, advance them getting noticed within their organizations, and it really can work as long as you just be careful and be a little selfish, I guess, if you will, in choosing the experience that you want with your mentor. And one last thing before I close out here is you may see some references to background checks and health screening and all that. None of that's required right now because you're not physically going out into a facility. So it's super, super easy. You just need to find someone who's willing to work with you on either identifying a concept or topic for a white paper, or someone who needs some help with a project and is just looking for you to help out. All right, guys, hopefully that helps get you started. Let me know if you have any questions as you go through that. The best way to get a hold of me is through text message, but you can also do old-fashioned email. But I've included my phone number down below, so don't hesitate to, and some of you have already done that, like quick little text messages. And if we need to, we can talk on the phone to work this out. All right, guys, everybody, if I don't talk to you until January, everybody have a great holiday. Rest, recharge your batteries, so we can get back into it come January. Thanks.